Welcome back, and thanks for joining me on the podcast. Restaurants today are challenged with staffing, high labor costs, inflation, competition, and the list goes on. These are the most challenging times to run a restaurant. You might feel like an underdog if these things are affecting your business. Well, today's guest is Laine Peterson. She's the general manager of Spearhead Hospitality Group in Chicago. And this company is known as Hospitality Underdogs. They take on projects that other leading restaurant operators will shy away from. And Laine has jumped in, and as the GM, she has turned several properties into super successful operations. So we're going to talk about all these challenges. So you're not going to want to miss this episode. If you haven't gone to Restaurant RockStars recently, we have taken our Restaurant Academy system and broken it out into several individual courses. So if you're into leadership and accountability and finding out how to get the most out of your team and inspire them to greatness, there's our leadership course. We have the Menu Profit Accelerator, which will maximize your menu profit. Using this tool, I just showed a 5-pizzeria chain $900,000 in lost potential profit on the table, and all of that is available in the Menu Profit Accelerator. We have the Mug Club course, how to start a mug club, and so many other opportunities. So check that out at restaurantrockstars.com. Now, on with the episode.
You're tuned in to the Restaurant RockStars Podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
So glad you're with us. Laine, welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm glad to talk to you. So every restaurant, doesn't matter where you are, we all have these crazy stories where I can't believe that happened and how did I even get through that? You've got one of those, don't you? Why don't you share?
But definitely. I have a couple. The one that I would like to share today, we had a big freeze. So I'm in Chicago, and we had a very cold January earlier this year. We have a big automated system for the building. It's a 52-story building. And before I left for vacation to New York, my first time in New York, I went when it was cold. I made sure that all the settings were correct, that our outside air damper was closed. It was going to get into the negatives. So cut to me being on vacation. I'm in the Met Museum, and I start getting these notifications on my phone. Of course, I'm like making sure I'm being respectful. My phone's on silent. There's a guard walking around. I check my phone. I have a message from the building manager letting me know that it's raining black water all over our host stand, all over the bar.
Gosh.
So I
Yikes.
find a corner of the Met Museum and discreetly get my phone out, make a call to our corporate chef, the tech service that we use. And it was it was wild. So for all the planning that I did before I left for vacation, the outside forces, you can't control everything. And then upon my return, we're making sure everything is cleaned up. I'm mopping drywall dust with a wet mop, which I quickly learned is not what you should do. I Google everything. I did not Google that before I started. Our corporate chef is fixing this. We have a communal table right behind the host stand.
We used to have those too. Yeah.
It's big, black wood, super heavy. And we're trying to move that a little bit. Then cut to him breaking off one of the legs. It only has 2 legs.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
It's attached. The other side is attached to this stand that we have.
Sure.
So I'm going to Home Depot to get wood glue. It's just the 2 of us too for the whole restaurant. I'm trying to get this fixed. It was wild. It was almost fun. It was a bonding experience, but
Your heart races for a little while, right? And then when you start to figure out, you're like, okay, we get past it. And the show must go on, right? We have to continue service. We have to please our guests and all that sort of thing. And sometimes they have no idea what just happened behind the scenes. And yet the show must go on. Oh,
which is a good thing.
Thank you for sharing. Now, your company has a term, hospitality underdogs. Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah, I think for us, we're a motley crew in terms of everyone's different backgrounds. Many of us have worked for the company for quite a while. I actually started as a part-time AM server at Cafe Roby in the Roby Hotel. Cut to 7+ years later, and we're at Canal Street during COVID when Santiago called me. So he's our CFO,
Chief financial guy. He's the finance guy?
He's the COO.
Oh, Chief Operating Officer. Gotcha.
Yeah. Although he's great with financials. So he calls me, it's COVID, and he asks me to lunch, and he tells me about how he had started Spearhead Hospitality with our property management firm, and that we're going to open a restaurant that's been closed for a year in Fulton Market in the middle of COVID. And if I would like to open it and be the general manager.
Wow. Hot seat.
I was like geared up and excited immediately to be in a space like Fulton Market, Randolph area. It's the hot spot of Chicago food. But to be opening a place, starting a hospitality group during COVID, especially close to the beginning,
When it just was happening. Yeah.
was daunting. But we were like ready to attack it head on. I think the team has so much grit. We definitely had some things like deliveries. We had these lamps that were stuck on a boat across the seas for who knows how long they were there. To get an actual accurate answer from any kind of shipping spot was difficult.
I remember all those supply chain issues, and the ships were like parked offshore and they couldn't unload. And you need this stuff. Like that affected so many different industries, restaurants included. Oh, wow. Okay.
It was wild.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think we can really rely on is the team that Santiago's built has been together for a long time. So we had housekeeping at the restaurant fixing these lamps that came in incorrectly, but we needed to open within less than a week. The engineering team, against all odds, it was everybody there from parents to siblings, and it was awesome. I had friends helping.
All hands on deck. Yeah.
Yeah, all hands on deck.
Whatever it takes. Yeah. So you take on these projects, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. You've taken on projects that other leading companies, such as yourself, just haven't done or wouldn't touch. But yet you see something they don't, or it's the grit that you mentioned. It's the power of the team. It's like, we'll just charge the hill and get over whatever it is because we see an opportunity. We were talking about this Fulton Market opportunity, and you got thrown into the hot seat because it's COVID, and now you've got this big challenge to manage. And one of the biggest challenges is finding staff, especially during that time. There were challenges during COVID, I recall, where people just stopped working and they were collecting unemployment. And in order to get anyone, you had to pay some pretty high wages. What was your experience there? And how did you train these people? How did you get these people? And then did it ultimately work out? Did those people last?
So I guess we'll take it back. Finding these people, we had a decent, probably about 3 months where I was interviewing. Of course, for your best laid plans, everything got kicked or pushed back a little bit, and you need to retain people that you've interviewed, have offered a job to, even if the restaurant isn't going to be open yet. And in order to retain, we needed to pay higher wages. The tipped hourly is how restaurants can succeed. As they say, it's a business of pennies, and guest tips really pay a huge majority of the tipped hourlies and yearly salaries. We had a big training day, and I had interviewed probably about 50 plus people, hired 30, and by some miracle, 25 showed up, which I was relieved.
25 out of 30. That's not bad, considering the times and the challenges. Yeah.
My boss at the time said I had very low hopes for this, but this was the best first day of training onboarding that we'd seen. So what I found, though, with the candidates that we were receiving, definitely young, green, which I like green,
You can mold them into
hires.
what you're really looking for?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Sure.
And then there's also something to be said for them to be able to work alongside a seasoned professional that can guide them or challenge them or make sure that they earn their place in the team. The things that I was finding, we had definitely some challenges with specifically, I'd say, like the servers. Friends of mine that I'd known that had been in the industry for a long time were finally not working those late nights, not missing. It's not like we were celebrating holidays together during COVID, but their weekends, it was like time to stop, maybe rethink what you just spent how many years doing in the restaurant industry. So one thing that I observed is that part of servers' wages, like we were saying, it's the tips. You can't control what someone is going to tip you. It's completely out of your control, which I think once you settle into that and realize that, it takes something off your back. But what you can control is your work ethic, your integrity, how you treat people, your efficiencies, what you prioritize, how you make people feel, your knowledge of the restaurant, the menu, all of that.
Yes, all of those things.
You keep that tip top, you own that. No one can take that from you. But even if you have all of that under your belt and you've done everything perfect, you may not get the desired outcome of some big tip. But guess what? You have no control. The next table may compensate for that. And that's everything shakes out.
Yeah, you're touching on a subject that came up frequently when I owned restaurants. And we used to tell people you take the good with the bad, you deliver your best hospitality. And again, you can't control the outcome, but some people are going to tip you very well. And yes, there are certain people that aren't going to tip, and it isn't necessarily a reflection of your service. But again, it all averages out. But you're touching on an interesting point because, and I'm not talking about your organization, but we all dine out. And sometimes we go to places where service people have a sense of entitlement where they just expect to get a 20+% tip, regardless of the service they deliver. Because, okay, I'm going through the motions. I'm serving a table. I got 5 tables here. Things are crazy. And I might not deliver true hospitality and give great service to every table, but yet I expect the 20%. And that is just the wrong approach and mindset. And it's too bad that does happen in our industry from time to time. And I think that's an educational process or a training process. But I'm glad you brought that up.
I think, yeah, it's almost like a level of maturity, and it's a little bit of self growth. I feel like there's a lot it's probably in more than just the restaurant industry, many industries, but yeah, interpersonal relationships and people skills and resigning yourself to knowing what's in your control, what isn't, and how you let those things affect you is really important, and how you walk through life, walk through the dining room, walk through the kitchen.
Let's go back to that underdog thing for a minute, because I still think it's a fascinating subject. Now, a lot of our listeners may have challenging locations. And I know my very first restaurant was 6 miles away from the action, wrong side of the railroad tracks, leaky roof, bad parking. Somehow we overcame all that and we created a successful restaurant. Now, Canal Street Eatery and Market is in a downtown skyscraper, and there's times when, yes, the business is there, but then everybody leaves and the sidewalks roll up. It's what have you had to do to overcome that location and make it work? Is it marketing? Is it special promotions? I'm sure it's many things. What have you done to make that work? Because it is successful.
I think from the beginning, that area there's no foot traffic. As soon as we opened, construction started on Union Station, meaning every street's a one-way street.
Oh, yes.
You don't know if
Can't
you
get
can
there
even
from
get
here,
back
huh?
down.
Yeah.
I was moving a big cone. I got yelled at by some construction guys. And 2 years in, the construction's still happening. So that is something that we knew that foot traffic wasn't going to be a thing. What we knew was vitally important was that the built-in business was ours to lose if we did not really ingratiate ourselves to the tenants in the building. So we expected X percentage of occupancy, and that was not the case. We could do projections and hope, but new tenants moving in, all of this is dependent on if the build out's ready, etc. The strategy when we opened was to capture as much business as possible. We wanted the value to be there, the quality, of course, to be there, and then genuine service hospitality. One of the hopes I had was that this place, because we would have built-in regulars, would be almost like a third place. You're going to see people getting their coffee and pastries in the morning in our market. You might see them for lunch. It could be some big client. You see them for happy hour as they're relaxing and letting go after a busy day. So I think our strategy from the beginning, we had our pricing, all of our COGS were done. And the day before we launched, we decided to cut our pricing down for the market. So we opened the market for salad sandwiches. And my first reaction to this decision was like, wait, hold up. What's the strategy behind this? And I'm thinking ahead to the future. How is this going to look for our first quarter open, worrying about food cost, etc. But I think that move was so smart and so important in the beginning because we were a place where you could go and eat every day, and everyone from someone that's the building, like loading dock security, to the CEO, to an account executive can come there. It's affordable. So the value is there. The quality isn't compromised to accommodate the value. And people really, we had people in every day for us to be able to capture almost all the business in the building. And then the word of mouth is, I think, what followed after that. There are some businesses nearby. We've got Sears Tower that has a great selection of different restaurants. There's the old post office that's right nearby, and they beat us to opening by a couple weeks. And if these businesses are doing well, it can't be a bad thing for us. But there are still times where people don't realize that we're right there across the way, and that's construction, etc. And then we have this big park, but you can't see it. You can't see it from Van Buren, Jackson, Canal, or Clinton. But once you know it's there, then, you're coming back.
You're talking about having both a short-term vision, but also a long-term strategy, as opposed to just having this short-term vision and hoping it all works out. And that, I think, is one of the qualities of an effective leader. Let's talk about, now you started this conversation by saying you were thrown into this position. You started out as an AM server, and suddenly, just during the pandemic starting, you're now the GM, and you've got to make all these decisions. What do you believe the most effective qualities are of a really strong general manager or leader?
Well, I think, people first. I know we hear this from everyone, but it's really important to be supportive of the team, to make sure that they feel heard, they feel seen. Also, supplying them with the tools that they need before they ask for them. So also having that foundation laid out so that when you do get questions, you don't waffle back and forth about what the answer is or give too much time for a ton of other opinions. Everyone's opinion matters sometimes. But in leading by example,
I love that.
You have to get your hands dirty. If I will clean that bathroom today, and tomorrow, if something happens and I'm busy and you're not, I will ask you to clean that bathroom. And you earn so much respect when you give respect, but also when you dig in. And if you're asking the team to prioritize the guest and to give genuine hospitality, and you need to give that to the team, and they need to see you giving that to the guest as well. It's busy when there's a challenge, when something spills, someone doesn't show up, getting your hands dirty and helping out. It's part of the fun, and it builds camaraderie, and you can also hold people accountable this way. If you're willing to do it, then you can ask people to do it.
I love that word accountability, because that's so important. And operators are struggling with that today because maybe they haven't set clear expectations, but it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. How do you recognize talent and ask these people, do you ask people, do you want additional responsibility? Would you like to move up, or are you just happy doing a great job in the position you're at? And sometimes people want to move up, and sometimes they're just doing a great job and they love what they're doing. How do you recognize those people, and how do we promote from within? Restaurants sell tons of fried food and your customers love it, but the hassles, hazards, and mess of fryer oil, cleaning hoods, and all that grease, well, you can forget all that with Restaurant Technologies. They deliver your oil, filter it, monitor usage, collect and recycle your waste cooking oil. Their Auto Mist system automates your hood and flue cleaning, eliminating the fire risk. As a Restaurant Technologies customer, you'll also save 10 to 15% in your insurance premiums. Plus, get a bonus for new customer referrals. Get started at rti-inc.com or call 866-399-3639. Listen, what would it feel like to lower your operating costs, double your sales, lower staff turnover, create raving fans, and design a menu that literally prints money? Our online restaurant training system will teach you and your staff to rock your restaurant and transform your business. Head on over to restaurantrockstars.com. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to get started. You've got this.
There have been a number of people, especially the last 2 years, some that are new to the Spearhead group in Canal, others that I've worked with for 6, 7 years. And it's interesting. One of the individuals that I work with has been doing this for a while, and they love the flexibility of it. They have some other goals and side projects. They are absolutely fantastic at what they do. They don't want more responsibility. They've been doing this long enough that they know where their niche is, and I'm not exactly sure if they've taken full on like manager responsibilities prior.
Some people don't want it, and that's okay. As long as that person is a super performer, they're happy with what they're doing, they're a team player, they're respectful, and they're bringing their best to the job every day, that's okay. But there are some people want to move and some people don't. That's all good.
Some folks recognition in terms of doing some shout outs, etc. But I think some financial compensation for consistency and growth has always worked. And I think when someone can talk and praise, but it's really important to bring everything full circle and make sure that you do what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. The follow through. And I love that. I learned that at an early age. Always do what you say you're going to do and have that follow through. And I think that's a really solid quality that I used to look for in my key people as well. Definitely. That's good. Have you had any staffing challenges? It sounds like you've got a great approach to motivating, inspiring people, recognizing talent, and really leading by example, which I love that you said that. Are you currently experiencing any labor staffing shortages or challenges with labor?
Right now, a little bit. It's such a mixed bag sometimes because you have we're a 5-day operation at Canal, making sure people have full-time hours for their benefits is important. But then if you hire some part-time people who might have other gigs, are we going to be the spot that's their priority? Will they be more comfortable calling off because they won't see us for 4 days, and by that time we'll have forgotten.
Yeah.
James gone. I would say as the winter comes, we're slowing down, but holiday parties and events are picking up. We're seeing some challenges right now. We started this promotion on which I know we're going to discuss, but Fridays have consistently been a very slow day for us, which is the complete opposite of any other spot I've worked.
Because people just get out of work and I'm out of here. Is that it? And they go back to their suburban lives or whatever it is, or wherever they happen to live?
Or they stay there and they don't come in on Fridays.
I see. Gotcha. Oh, yeah. And the remote work thing has probably affected you as well.
Oh, big time. I mean, I've heard of just a few businesses recently that are asking the staff to come in on Fridays. And it's not every Friday, but it's a couple Fridays a month. But it's definitely I would say the occupancy gets cut by almost 60, 70% on Fridays.
Yeah. So you've had to come up with something special to drive that business and to get people in the door. Yeah. What are some of those things?
So we wanted to do something aggressive. We were discussing it for quite a while, and we launched Italiano Fridays.
I like
And
Italian.
it's funny. It's one of those, there's those like phrases that they're catchy, they're almost annoying, and that's why they're so catchy. Italiano Fridays, I think it's the perfect name for it. So it's available from the time we open. We open at 11 a.m. until we close. We're staying open an hour later on Fridays, the late 9 p.m. And it's $15, unlimited salad, pasta, and pizza. Kids under 12 eat free, and free parking. We have a parking garage.
That
It's
certainly
very,
helps. Oh my
oh,
goodness, great. But that sounds like a screaming deal. Like I'd want to go for that. Where can you eat and get unlimited for $15 and get quality
mhm,
food like salad, pizza, pasta? That's Italian.
it's an amazing deal, and it took off almost
I
immediately.
can't imagine why it wouldn't. Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah,
Um,
super. You have to get creative and resourceful. So I'm really glad that you shared. Let's switch gears. You talked earlier about your COO being a super financial guy, but I'm sure as director of operations, you also have to have your finger on the pulse of the financials in any given location, whether it's canal or not. You mentioned earlier food costs. What are some of the other things that you monitor? Do you take regular inventory in your venues, and have you costed out menus to keep up with inflation, knowing what things are rising and all that sort of thing with volatility? What do you do?
Inventory, especially liquor, beverage inventory, is huge. Going back, looking through invoices, checking to see where the increases are, any kind of deal that you can get, making sure that you're ordering appropriately so you get the lowest cost.
Absolutely.
There,
Thank you.
people are eager, and when you're green, you want to try these things, and you don't maybe grasp why a specific ingredient can't go into a dish or a drink because the cost to the guest would have to skyrocket. And our chef is great. We go through the invoices consistently, and he's always looking for product. But we try to make things as easy for ordering purposes.
And
But
efficient. Yeah, it sounds like you're looking at efficiencies, you're looking at costs, you're monitoring invoices, which is super important. And that takes time, but it's like it adds up. I used to say pennies equal dollars, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about.
some of the discoveries that we've made with more eyes on these things are pretty wild. And then to do the math to figure out what kind of savings you could and it's great that everyone prioritizes that, because those are the things that we can control. And if you're not controlling that, then the things that you can only control a little bit, you're probably not controlling either. And those things are important, and you need to have that as a priority and kind of consistently have your pulse on that. So it's something that you're actively keeping in mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
So a lot of restaurants are not focused so much on that bottom line as they should be, but everyone wants more sales. Everyone wants more guests in the door. But when you have the guests, I've always believed that you have to maximize the opportunities, because it's hospitality to be knowledgeable and to make recommendations,
Yep.
but it also increases checks. And I travel quite a bit, and I see a lot of order taking still happening in a variety of price point restaurants. Is there any special training that you have in your restaurants about suggestive selling to obviously deliver the hospitality, but also make sure that, you're selling as much as you can be selling? Because that's the lifeblood of all of our businesses.
The thing I like to remind the team, and I have to remind myself of this too, is that the guest is making a reservation. They're seated. They are there to spend money. They want to eat. They
Yes.
want to have a good time. If there's something that's like out of their price point, they'll make that decision in their head. You don't need to worry about that. We have training materials for each position, spiels that I have written, scripts, if you will, that I
Oh,
don't ask
good.
them to
Good.
follow,
Tell us about
make
that.
it your own.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a guideline. It's a template. It's use your unique personality, but this is what, yeah, you're giving them a direction, a roadmap to a guest experience that also is suggesting. That's what I'm hearing. Is that true?
oh yeah, and it shows also how your knowledge plays such an integral role into what people will order, and they'll trust you if you have the charisma If you know that the food is good and consistent and you can sell it and you trust that person, they're putting a lot of faith into you. They're putting a lot of faith into the kitchen and the standards that we uphold. And I think getting drinks on the table is a huge thing. When I go out, I want everything pretty fast. I want my drink
I think we all
immediately.
do, yeah. But you're right. The drink is important. It's what gets the meal started. It's celebratory. You're with a group of people or just a spouse or a partner, and that's the first thing you want. You want to settle in and have a drink and just enjoy the experience, and that's definitely the starter.
And I think telling the table or the guest, bringing it fully around, this is what you're going to have to begin with. If you're doing 2 drinks, start with this. When this comes out, I'm going to bring you this. Being really engaged and excited. And I think when you have just when the knowledge lives in you and you can pivot and then look for opportunities to go above and beyond, if you will. If someone's deciding between a couple things, bring them a taste or share some anecdotes, personal experiences, and make yourself and the places relatable and make the guest feel as comfortable as possible. I think going out can be maybe intimidating sometimes, or you're asking questions and you think you should know. I go out to restaurants, and if I don't know something, I'm Googling it really quickly. And I think when people feel comfortable enough to let you take the lead, you aren't taking advantage of them. You're doing exactly what they're hoping and wishing that you would do. And it's sometimes a no-brainer, and it's a very good feeling.
Now you're creating loyal guests. You're giving them reasons to come back. If your people use their unique personalities and deliver these awesome experiences that are memorable, people are going to want to come back and ask for those people by name. I think that's exactly what we're looking for. And that unto itself is a form of marketing. So we've talked about a couple of marketing things. You talked about this great Italiano promotion, which was a great example of driving business at a slower time and how do you get people in the door. That's fantastic. And we talked about just now your people being brand ambassadors for your business. What other things have proven to work in your location or any of the venues really that are part of that rock solid marketing plan that never deviates because it just works? Do you use influencers? You're in a downtown area in some cases. What else has worked for you?
One of the big promotions that we did early on was we had these custom postcards, and we sent those to the different residential buildings within, I think, either 3-block or 1-mile radius, something pretty tight.
Sure. Walkable or, yeah. And then you had parking as well. Yeah, keep going. That's good.
And this promotion was bring this postcard in and redeem it for a complimentary pizza.
Wow.
And so
That's a deal.
we go hard, aggressive.
And it's trackable too, right? You can track where the people came from. Keep going. Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're touching on a very important point. Trackable marketing, not spending a ton of money on something you have no idea if it's working or where the people are coming from. And you just gave us a great example of that.
And in order for the individual to redeem, we collected information.
Data mining. Here we go.
Email.
Keep going.
And then we met people, and you could dine in or you could take it to go. And now once people had the food, saw the space, met the individuals at the host stand or the bar who they were ordering from, they felt comfortable in this place. And I think a big building, you don't know, is there a restaurant there? Is that weird? You're maybe hesitant to step in, but free pizza.
Who's going to say no to that? Oh, yeah.
You get pizza.
Everyone's going to try it once. And once you've got them, you're going to get them back again if you deliver the hospitality and the experience with the great pizza. Super. Nice.
So that worked very well.
I think, there's another really solid lesson there. This is terrific. We've covered finances. We've talked about leadership. We've talked about short staffing and what to do, special promotions. We've been all over the place, but you've given us some really great insights from being director of operations and having the big picture, the short-term vision linked with the long-term vision. And you're doing great things for our industry. So thank you so much, Laine, for being with us.
Thank you.
That was the Restaurant RockStars Podcast. Thank you so much to our audience for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsors of this week's episode. And we can't wait to see you all next time. See you in the next episode. Listen, don't lose birthday business to your competition. People celebrate birthdays 7 days a week. The check averages are high. And when they have fun in your place, they'll come back again. Talk to my buddy Dyson. He's an operator also, just like you and me. But now he runs a done-for-you birthday club. Go to jointhebirthdayclub.com/birthdayrockstar. It's a piece of cake.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant RockStars Podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.